Do you know that it is unlawful to engage in telecommunication business in Nigeria without a license? I will be discussing that with you today. Good day, esteemed viewers. My name is Eniola Ogunyemi, a penultimate law student from Harvarde College, Abeokuta, and also an undergraduate intern at HARLEM Solicitors. Today, I will be discussing with you licensing regime in the telecommunication sector. And at the end of this video lecture, you will be able to know what telecommunication law is, meaning and essence of license, classes of license, restrictions on individual license, conditions relating to individual license, renewal of individual license, suspension and revocation of individual license, legal effect of suspension, and licensing regime of class license. To start with, let's lay a strong foundation on what telecommunication law is. And what is telecommunication law? Telecommunication law is that aspect of law that regulates telecommunication services in Nigeria. And what is a license? A license is an authority to do an act which would have otherwise been an unlawful act if done without authority. Now, let's relate to the telecommunication sector. And what is a telecommunication license? A telecommunication license is the authority granted to a person by the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, to engage in telecommunication business in Nigeria. Let's consider the body responsible for issuing license in Nigeria. The body responsible for issuing license in Nigeria is the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, established by Section 3 of the NCA 2003. Now, let's look at the regulatory framework for licensing regime in Nigeria. We have one, the Nigerian Communications Act 2003, which is also known as the NCA 2003, and also Licensing Regulations 2019, made by the NCC, pursuant to the powers conferred on them by Section 70 of the NCA 2003. Now, let's look at the classes of license. They include 1. Individual license, class license, and the frequency license. Let's look at the licensing regime for individual license. And what is individual license? As defined by Section 157 of the NCA 2003, it means an authority granted to a specific person to engage in a specified activities and may include conditions on which such activity shall be subject. Now, let's look at the services that can be rendered by an individual license holder. They are entrenched in the second schedule of the Licensing Regulations 2019. They include, but not limited to, automated vehicular tracking services, infrastructure and collocation sharing services, interconnect exchange, value-added services, fixed telephony services, whether by wire or wireless, and universal access services. It must be noted that this individual license is personal in nature. And what does that imply? It means it cannot be sub-licensed, it cannot be assigned or transferred, not until with the written approval of the NCC. This is in accordance with Section 38 of the NCA 2003. Now, let's look at the restrictions on individual license. And what are the restrictions placed on individual license? They are entrenched under Regulation 18 of the Licensing Regulations 2019. They include, it provides that the Commission shall not issue an individual license to any applicant who has 1. A controlling interest in another license, 2. Has failed to meet its obligation granted to it by the Commission on another license. Now, let's look at the undertakings relating to an individual license. And what are the undertakings relating to an individual license? They are contained under the Regulation 19 of the Licensing Regulations 2019, as well as Section 42 of the NCA 2019. Regulation 19 of the Licensing Regulations 2019 provides that the granting of an individual license shall remain conditional, not until certain undertakings are duly complied with by the applicants. And what are these undertakings? They include network rollout obligation, interconnection obligation, obligation to comply with the technical standard, and specification of the NCC. Now, Regulation 21 of the Licensing Regulations 2019 provides that an individual license automatically terminates at the expiration of its duration. That will bring us to renewal of an individual license. And how can this individual license be renewed? Section 45 of the NCA 2003 gives a detailed information on how this individual license can be renewed. It provides that the licensee must write 6 months notice to the Commission before the expiration of this license. Subsection 2 of the same section goes further to say, if the Commission has no intention of renewing this application, it shall write 3 months notice to the licensee of its refusal to renew, and shall notify and publish in at least one national daily newspaper of such intention. Subsection 3 of that same section goes further to give us conditions on why the Commission may reject an application for renewal. They include if the licensee has not complied with the terms and conditions of the license, if the licensee has not complied with the provision of this Act or its subsidiary legislation, if the licensee has not complied with any instrument made, issued, or given by the Commission. Now, let's look at the suspension and revocation of individual license. Section 45 of the NCA 2003 provides that the Commission may suspend or revoke an individual license. Now, let's look at the conditions by which the Commission may revoke an individual license. They include 1. If the licensee has failed to pay any amount or fine imposed by the Act or by the Commission. If the licensee has not complied with the provision of the Act. If the licensee has contravened any other provisions related to the communication industry. If the licensee has not complied with the instrument made, given, or issued by the Commission. If the licensee is unable to pay his debts. If the licensee has gone into receivership or liquidation. If the licensee has taken voluntary action for winding up or dissolution. If the revocation or suspension is in public interest. Now, let's look at the legal effect of this suspension. This is entrenched under Section 46 of the NCA 2003. It provides that the spectrum capacity and other rights allotted to the individual licensee shall be withdrawn from him pending the time when that suspension is still in force, which implies that the licensee will be stripped of the right to engage in telecommunication business during that time when the suspension is still in force. Having said all of that about individual license, let's look at what class license is and what is the definition of class license. This is also defined under Section 157 of the NCA 2003, which provides that it is an authority granted to all or any person to engage in a specified activity and may include conditions on which such activity shall be subject. Let's look at the services that can be rendered by a class license holder. They are entrenched in its third schedule of the licensing regulations. They include, but not limited to, repair and maintenance of telecommunication equipment, operation of public payphones, operation of telecenter, operation of cyber cafe. Now, it must be noted that an individual license, a class license, cannot be suspended. A class license cannot be revoked. A class license can neither be surrendered, but it can be deregistered. Let's look at the conditions for the registration. They are entrenched in Section 51 of the NCA 2003, and it provides that if the licensee has failed to pay any amount or fine imposed by the Act or by the Commission, if the licensee has not complied with the provision of the Act, if the licensee has not complied with the provision of any other written laws relevant to the communication industry, if the licensee has not complied with the instrument made, issued, or given by the Commission, if the deregistration is in public interest. Now, in conclusion, we must note that to engage in telecommunication business in Nigeria, license is required. This is according to the provision of Section 31 sub 1 of the NCA 2003. Going by the provision of Section 31 sub 1 of the NCA 2003, it provides that no person shall operate or engage in telecommunication business in Nigeria, not until authorized to do so under a communication license. Violation of this provision comes with a heavy fine of a relevant fee of the initial fee for license and the imprisonment of not exceeding a term of 1 year, or both fine and imprisonment. To learn more, visit our website on www.harlemsolicitors.com and follow us on our social media handles, Harlem Solicitors. Thank you.